This episode is sponsored by Arbalos Films. Arbalos Films specializes in releasing new 4K restorations of canon expanding and critically celebrated art house cinema. Some of their bigger releases include Satan Tango, Funeral Parade of Roses. They have a great Nina Menkes box set, which I highly recommend.
You can find all their special edition Blu-rays on their online shop. And just for our listeners, you can use the promo code SEENHEARD for 15% off your first purchase. The link to the Arbalos online shop is in the show notes. Yes, I'll take my mozzarella sandwich with a side of trauma, please. This is Bicycle Thieves.
Hey everybody, welcome to Seen and Heard.
Hi.
This is the podcast where two entertainment assistants go through the Sight and Sound Top 100 Greatest Films of All Time list. I'm Greg.
I'm Jackie.
And we're here on the list, ping-ponging back and forth. This is 1948's Bicycle Thieves by Vittorio de Sica. What number is this on the list?
We're back at the top of the list this week. This is number 33 on the 2012 list. Number 41 on the 2022 list.
Oh, it fell a little bit.
And we'll talk. This is a very special movie. I don't want to give too much away, but this was the first movie to ever be number one on the Sight and Sound list. The first Sight and Sound list that came out in 1952.
Wow.
This movie was number one.
That's so cool.
I know. We'll discuss its place on the list in a second.
That's so cool. I don't know if I knew that.
I think I knew it.
Maybe we talked about it in like our first.
We must have talked about the first ever
intro.
list. I don't even remember.
Yeah.
That's so bad.
Well, that was like 2 years ago now that we started recording that. Hey, Jackie.
Hey.
Before we get into Bicycle Thieves, what have you been watching this last week?
I saw Passages, the Ira Sachs film that just came out. And it's really good. It is a cringe-worthy portrait of selfishness and libido, but in the best way possible. It makes you think about every bad impulse you've ever had and what would happen if you actually went through with them. And I like it because it's a cautionary tale, but not one with a protagonist that really is truly remorseful. I mean, like, he kind of is without giving that much away, but it ends on a very ambiguous note, which I like a lot. Very engaging from the moment it starts to the moment it ends.
Yeah, I think I'm seeing it soon.
It's really good. And then I revisited a movie I really love. It's called Paris When It Sizzles. It is... God, I didn't even write down what year it's from.
Wow.
It must be 64. I think it's 64. Have you ever seen this movie?
No.
Audrey Hepburn, William Holden. This was one of those movies that my mom had a bunch of Audrey Hepburn movies, and Audrey Hepburn movies were really the only, except movie musicals, they were the only classic, like, old films I really watched as a kid, besides musicals. And this was always one of them because she had them. And it's so good. It's such a delightful, underrated movie. It's about, so William Holden is a screenwriter. And
Again?
Yes, again, yeah. And I think that's part of the fun because the whole movie is kind of making fun of movies that he's been in, that she's been in. And she is a typist and he's working in Paris. He's working on a new movie in Paris. And the script is due like that weekend. And she comes to his house to type it up because it's apparently done, supposedly done. But of course she gets there and there's no script. So they start writing the script together while imagining it out. And you see the scenes they're imagining out. And it's really ridiculous and really funny and super fun. And the older you get, like when I was little, I didn't understand any of the cinematic references. But I hadn't seen it in so long. And watching it now this time, it was so delightful and so full of funny jabs at movies of all kinds. It's a great movie.
Sounds great.
Recommend. I know, and no one has seen it. I don't understand. Anyway,
Well, they should see it now.
They should. But I like that structure a lot, and that's always stuck with me ever since seeing that. It's like you can always just have the protagonist be a screenwriter, and then you can play out all the different ideas as actual scenes. That's always stuck with me. And yeah.
It sounds really cool.
Yeah. What have you been watching?
Oh, just the two, huh?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure just the two.
I just have two also. We've been busy. What can I say? One of these films I may or may not bring up again later this episode.
Oh.
Also in honor of Paul Rubens' passing a few weeks ago, I revisited Pee-wee's Big Adventure, which I'll talk about later. And then I revisited, this is the week of revisits. I revisited Thelma and Louise.
Oh.
It'd been a while. And you know what? This is the movie that like I've seen so many times, but I always see it on cable TV.
Yeah.
And so like I would always, I've seen the whole thing, but I don't know that I'd ever like sat down and watched it from beginning to end. Because it's like, you just catch it in clips and like, it's great.
So good.
It's so good.
I know. I miss it actually.
It's so good. And yeah, I mean, Ridley Scott, speaking of, we just did Blade Runner last week. And yeah, it's just an incredible little, not little actually.
Not little.
No, it's kind of sprawling and it's like over 2 hours long and everything. So actually there's nothing really small about it, but I mean,
what a punch.
The two performances, I mean, come on. They're so good.
The end.
The supporting cast. I forgot how great Christopher McDonald was in that movie as Louise's husband.
Yes.
Yeah, Gina Davis's husband. He's so good. In a performance that straddles like comedy and tragedy, right? Like he's an antagonist,
right? But
he's also funny. It's like a tough thing to pull off. Of course, you have Harvey Keitel and Michael Madsen and everybody in there. It's so good.
Yeah, Brad Pitt,
of course, Brad Pitt. So that was my week.
What a great week.
Well, should we get into this week's movie?
Yeah.
From 1948, this is Vittorio De Sica's Bicycle Thieves.
Bicycle Thieves was released in 1948. It was directed by Vittorio De Sica, written by a whole lot of people. They are as follows: Cesar Zavantini, Orset Biancoli, Suso D'Amico, De Sica himself, Adolfo Franchi, Gerardo Girardi, Gerardo Giurieri. Those are all the writers.
Wow.
2 Gerardos. Based on a novel by Luigi Bartolini. Cinematography by Carlo Montiori, and music by Alessandro Cicconini. Working class post-war Italian everyman Antonio is finally offered a job with substantial pay, putting up film posters all over Rome. The one caveat for the job is that he must have a bicycle. After his wife Maria pawns her dowry linens, Antonio is able to buy back his beloved bicycle from the pawn shop and starts work the following morning. Shortly into his day, his bicycle is stolen and the thief speeds away on it. Antonio is discouraged when the police dismiss the gravity of the situation, telling him he's better off looking for the bicycle himself. The next day, Antonio and his young son, Bruno, set out to find the bicycle. They scour the markets where stolen goods are usually sold, but can't find anything. Antonio spots the thief talking to an old man. The thief rides away, but Bruno and Antonio follow the old man to a soup kitchen. Antonio pressures the man to tell him where the thief is and to accompany him there, but the old man slips away. Antonio takes Bruno to indulge in a meal, and afterwards, they try to get information from a fortune-telling holy woman. However, the woman is of no use. They come across the thief again and chase him down to his neighborhood, but the bicycle is nowhere in sight, and Antonio has no witnesses or proof of the crime. He is berated by the neighborhood for accusing an innocent poor boy, and Antonio becomes increasingly desperate and hopeless. He sees an unattended bicycle outside someone's door and tries to steal it, but is immediately caught by a crowd of people who shame him in front of Bruno. The owner of the bicycle takes pity and decides not to press charges. Bruno takes his father's hand as the broken-hearted pair disappears into the crowd of people. The film stars Lamberto Maggiorani as Antonio, Enzo Steola as Bruno, and Lianella Carel as Maria. De Sica, who you might remember from The Earrings of Madame de, he plays Baron Fabrizio Donati, couldn't get financing for this film. And the story goes that Louis B. Mayer offered to finance the film if he cast Cary Grant in the leading role. Obviously, he said no, and apparently he funded the film himself. Bicycle Thieves is perhaps the most famous film in the Italian neorealist canon. It's a prime example of the aesthetic and thematic traditions of the movement. The film was shot on location, used non-professional actors, and told a simple, realistic story about the common man's economic and emotional despair in post-war Italy. People often say Rome, Open City by Rossellini was the first official Italian neorealist film, but Bicycle Thieves is by far the most famous. Although borrowing some minor plot things, the film is vastly different from the novel it got its name from. The novel is apparently in the point of view of a middle-class intellectual, and it's about the anarchy-esque thievery in Italy at the time.
Huh.
Has nothing to do.
Wow.
I mean, probably a bicycle is stolen, but it's not about that. Maggiorani, who plays Antonio, was a factory worker. However, his voice was dubbed by a professional actor, which some people critiqued the movie for. I honestly didn't think it was a bad dub at all. I didn't even... I know
we also
all
don't
Italian...
speak Italian, yeah.
That's true. And I think I'm just used to the dubbing of Italian movies, maybe.
Right.
The little boy who plays Bruno, Staiola, was in the crowd watching a scene being shot when De Sica saw him and hired him on the spot to play Bruno. I think it was the scene where Antonio is looking for his friend who's going to help him the next day. He later became a math teacher as an adult.
So they had started production on the film
without
casting
Bruno,
him.
apparently.
Was he even a part of the original script, or did they add
Maybe
him in?
not. I know the script had, first of all, it has like 10 writers. And also, I don't even think there was a complete script.
You mean 10 people couldn't pull it together?
Yeah. For a very long time, the film was being called by an incorrect title. In Italian, it has always been plural Thieves. But when it was screened in the US, the critic Bosley Crowther called the film The Bicycle Thief in his New York Times review. And that's what people called it for a very, very long time until the Criterion release in 2007, which was the definitive home release version. Finally, the title was amended in the US of A. The film predates the Best Foreign Film category at the Oscars, which was inducted in 1956, but it was granted an honorary award for Most Outstanding Foreign Language Film released in the United States during 1949. Can you imagine writing all of that in a little Oscar in the little plaque?
No.
It won the BAFTA for Best Film from Any Source. And as I mentioned, this film is very special because it was the first #1 film on the first ever 1952 edition of Sight and Sound's Best Films of All Time.
Wow.
So it was #1 in 1952. In 1962, because there's a new list every 10 years, it went to #7. Then in 1972, it was not even in the top 10. I think it was in the 30s or something. Oh, and then it was in the 50s in 1982. But in 1992, it was number 11.
Wow.
And then 12 in 2002. And then in 2012, which is the list we're going off of, back at 33.
And then it dropped down for the new list, too.
Dropped lower in just last year, 2022.
So it rose in the 90s. It came back from the dead, and then it's been dropping again since.
Interesting, right? I wonder why.
Yeah. Fascinating, honestly.
I don't see why.
I guess people's opinion on the movie keeps changing. I don't know.
But it doesn't. I feel like it's always been beloved.
I agree, yeah.
Not in Italy, though. Apparently, it wasn't that beloved in Italy.
Oh, interesting.
Because people were upset. They thought it painted Italians in a bad way. I mean... But
people gonna get upset.
That was like, what else did we do recently? It was Showa.
Oh, right. Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think it's gonna have another peak?
I think it should, yeah.
Might be a bad example, but like Rules of the Game. Why is Rules of the Game still in the top 10? Why wouldn't this movie be?
Yeah, this movie is better than Rules of the Game.
Definitely. And when I did this research, I had to look at like all of the Sight and Sound lists. Essentially, Rules of the Game has been in the top 10 forever.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
I don't either.
Yeah.
But why Rules of the Game?
Because this movie's so much more.
I agree.
Much better. I don't know.
It's more poignant too. I think it's a better film. It's more affecting and effective, and it's more poignant.
Sure.
Well, let's not show our cards too early. Well, I guess we're about
How
that.
could you not like this movie?
I hate it. This movie sucks. No, this is a great movie.
Is that your initial thought?
Yeah, it's a great movie.
End of initial thoughts.
I think
That's all you're allowed.
God, I don't remember the first time I saw this. I don't think I saw it in school. I think I saw it about
10 years ago?
No, 15 years ago.
Wow.
Maybe 20?
No. You were 15 years old? Wow, you were 15 years old.
When I was 15, I saw Fellini and, Buñuel and Lynch and everything. So I was in high school. It was probably just after high school. But yeah, I mean, I loved it the first time I saw it. And I've loved it ever since. Like, it's a great fucking movie.
It is.
There's nothing
more to say.
detest. Like, yeah. I think it actually, at least on my end, I feel like this episode might be shorter than usual. Just because it's a great fucking movie. And like, I think what's so great about it is that it's a really, really simple movie. It's 89 minutes.
Yep.
The story is crystal clear. It's very simple. And I think it's very clear what the movie's going for, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Not just the class thing. I think ultimately the takeaway at Bicycle Thieves is this sounds a little simplistic, but just of how life is not fair, right? That's really the message. Like, life is not fair.
Right.
And as someone like me, I'm so hung up. And my wife will tell you that this is all tied into like my astrological sign or something, but I'm so hung up about stuff being fair in life. I can't stand injustice. So like, I so sympathize with this film and like this guy, this family that just can't get ahead, this guy and his son. And through no fault of his own, like he has lost this job. He has lost so much more than that, right? The dignity of this is the old world. This is old world Italy. So he's the father, he's the provider. Even though his wife also works, his
son also works.
The son works too. Yeah. I think the film is just so clear. This is kind of the film where like you could watch it once and through no faults of the film, get everything that there's to get beneath the surface because it's just so crystal clear.
Yes.
What the movie is. And sure, you could see it once and get it and never see it again. But I feel like because the movie is so good, even though it is really devastating, I enjoy revisiting this. I've probably seen this 5 or 6 times. And I see it every few years or something. But it's just so good. It's involving, it's emotional. It's a study in simplicity, really.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
So yeah, it's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
How about you?
I mean, totally. I agree. My first thoughts aren't thoughts, they're feelings.
Yeah, exactly.
When I think about this movie, it's incredible warmth and incredible sadness. And what else could you want out of a movie?
Yeah.
That's what movies are. This is perfect. It's beautiful. It's for everyone. I'll tell you what more you could ask for. Incredibly clear and unsentimental storytelling. And that's also what you get from this movie.
Yes.
It's perfect.
Yes, it is.
I mean, what more? You're right. I think this is this the definitive father-son movie as a person who will never be able to experience that relationship? For me it is, but I don't know. You tell me.
Oh God. Maybe. It's up there.
It seems pretty quintessential. Like,
I'm having a hard time coming up with something that, outside of like The Godfather. Well, come on, that's valid. It's valid. Yeah, I mean it's certainly in, the top few. I'm having trouble thinking of others right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at me. And the non-professionals are on fire.
Yes.
They're
Especially
on fire.
the kid. Especially the kid.
I don't know.
He's so good.
I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I would die for Bruno. I would die for him. And there's humor.
Yes, exactly. These are the things we talk about on the show all the time. Movies being one note or like serious, quote unquote, serious films not having moments of levity. And this film does run the gamut of it's light sometimes. The whole segment where they go and eat is so full of joy and humor and so frivolous. And then it's able to really run the gamut. And you have the whole spectrum here. And he makes it look so easy.
Oh, he makes it look incredibly easy. The moment with the fortune teller is also funny when she tells that guy, she's like, do you understand what I'm saying? Don't sow your oats in the wrong soil. And he's like, what? And she's like, forget her. She doesn't want you.
Yeah.
That part's great. The part where they're the chase scene in the church and those guys kneel at the altar every time. And then Bruno does it too.
And they do the Mother Mary cross thing.
Yeah. And then even like Maria just giving him shit when he's like pitying himself. She's like, be quiet.
Yeah.
It's so funny. And even when she's taking off the sheets, the really angry way she's doing it, it's just a great movie.
Yeah.
But let's talk, because that is I think my main point, everything just pieces from this, is this unsentimental, clear storytelling. And it, like you said, simple plot. It gives you so much freedom to dive into the details, to move from place to place, situation to situation in an episodic way. This movie is episodic.
Yeah.
Like when it starts to rain, that's a whole plot point because it carries so much. And all of the vignettes do. Like they can get lunch and that can be a whole episode in and of itself. And it works.
Yeah.
Like you see Bruno getting happy at the music. You see him comparing himself to the kid over there.
The kid with his ridiculous hair.
Yeah. Playing with the fork and knife. Or even just getting ready to leave the house, the 2 egg sandwiches and, like play fighting with the wife and she's laughing. Like she gets mad at him, but then she's laughing. And Bruno closing the window for the baby. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Even the pawning of the sheets, like you see that gorgeous, like just seeing them in that window and he pops his head in. And then when he's getting his bike and he can see his sheets being taken up.
Yeah.
Like this is the movie, but it's just
you even see the sheets being washed too. Yeah.
And you hear like the pride and impatience in his voice when he's asking for his bike. He's like, it's that one over there. Like it's next to the red one.
Yeah.
It's so good. And there's beauty there. Like there's so much feeling. There's so much emotion in each of these vignettes, but it's always realistic. It's never too mushy ever. Even when like he lifts up Maria to look inside, like, see, everyone has their own locker.
Yeah.
And then someone shuts it on her face.
Yeah.
It's just brilliant. And even like bigger thing, like when this is post slap, and we'll talk about the slap. Post slap when they've kind of separated. Antonio's looking on his own. Bruno's looking on his own. And then you hear a boy is drowning. And you're just like immediately in it. And you're pulled and you're going. And there's a few chase scenes too. Like it's not just these very simple vignettes. Like there are chase scenes. But this one, it's just like, this is their makeup. He freaks out. It wasn't Bruno. But he doesn't like run up to his son and grab him and kiss him. Like that is the makeup. Yeah. Is that you see the fear in his eyes. That's it.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
I think there's a reason why this is the quintessential Italian neorealist film. I think it's ultimately because it's just the perfect example of what everything that movement, that specific subgenre has to offer, right?
Yeah.
It's like the attention to detail, the sort of muted emotion, but it's still there.
Oh my God.
But it's not overdone.
Floodgates of it, but it's not a physical floodgate.
It's authentic. Yeah. And just like the day-to-day lives, right? The small details that you're talking about, like you see him putting the sheets up, him getting excited about his bike. It's all that stuff.
For sure.
And I still have never seen a neorealist film that tops this one because it's just so succinct.
It's so clear how you're supposed to feel, and yet it's not overdone. Like I always talk about movies where, and I love these movies where it's like it's up to the audience how they feel. But in this one, it's not. But it still works. And it's so good because it's not mushy. It's not sentimental. The slap.
Heard around the world.
The slap. Oh my God. It's the moment afterwards when he walks away from him where I just sob. Like I can't deal with it.
It's too much.
And then, but that's what I mean. Like, it's so realistic. Even afterwards, when Bruno almost gets hit by a car, and it's like nothing, but that's so clear. Like, oh, Antonio has turned his back from him now. He almost gets hit by a car. That's it.
Yeah.
No words.
Yeah.
No nothing.
Exactly.
Even the transitions are great. Like when they're having lunch, and he says something like, "No saint on earth can even find it." And of course, the idea pops into his head of that woman that Maria went to go see. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep. I wonder if that was the inspiration for the beginning of Cleo from 5 to 7.
Yeah, I love that. I love that comparison. And even the beginning, like when he gets the job, whoever gives it to him, I don't know if he's a government worker, plainly states very clearly, don't take it if you don't have your bicycle.
Yeah.
Something as simple as Antonio fixing Bruno's scarf. When Bruno's asking him what happened to the bike, he's like, oh, what does he say? He makes up an excuse. It broke down.
Oh, yeah.
And then he fixes his scarf. And then when he goes to find his friend and some guy is putting up a poster. First of all, love that friend is like part-time garbage man and actually loves theater and is like a performer. It's great.
Yeah.
And that guy is like putting up posters and he goes, hey, Antonio, I'm stealing your job. As a joke, but obviously that sting is so real. One of the priests that doesn't notice Bruno, you know when it's raining and all of those like monks or priests come, they're all wearing the hat, and one of them stands in front of Bruno. He doesn't even see him and Bruno like pushes him.
Yeah, that's right.
It's so good.
Yeah.
You know what else I love? When we are in the apartment of the thief, and first of all, just that apartment, but I love that the thief's sister walks in. Like what a good move.
Yeah.
But like what a good detail to put in there.
Yeah, agreed, because it humanizes him more.
Of course. And we'll talk about that in a second.
It's interesting too that the thieves, like he's in more poverty than the main character because they have 4 people in one room.
For sure. Maybe now's a good time to talk about that. Like and I think it's so tied to this plural title, like the fact that it was known as The Bicycle Thief for so long is crazy because I think the title is so essential to the philosophy of the movie and the humanism of the movie. Sure, if it was just The Bicycle Thief, that could leave audiences to be like, who's the real thief?
Yeah.
You know, but it's so clear if it's The Bicycle Thieves, and it reflects this weird camaraderie of the movie. Of the people in the movie that are tied by this economic crisis.
They really are. They're doing it out of like necessity. Both people who steal bikes in this movie.
For sure.
It's just that one is better at doing it than the other.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it comes down to.
No, poor guy.
You know, because the guy who actually steals the bike in the beginning is, implied that he lives a life of crime. Like he's a criminal and knows how to grift and get by and sell parts on the black market or whatever. And Antonio doesn't, and he steals the bike at a really clumsy time. Like he could have stole it when there was a bunch of bikes around, and like he waited too long, and he can't pedal fast enough, he can't get away, and so it's like the clumsiness of him as a thief.
Yeah,
so it's an interesting connection there
for sure. There are no villains in the movie, but there are humans not being the nicest to other humans, but I think it's because they're also just people trying to make it by. Like you said, it's really, it comes down to that. The thief primarily, like we talked about. But like the guys in the market being mean to Bruno and saying like, get lost. And the guy also in the market who doesn't want to show him his serial number. Like it's just a bunch of people not willing to help.
Yes.
But of course they have their own reasons.
Yes.
The guy not wanting to show the serial number. The old man who refuses to help. Of course, he's so poor that he has to go to a soup kitchen. Oh, okay, this was a detail I didn't even notice, but do you know that the guy that hops on the car, he's an accomplice of the thief. He hops on the car and says, I think he went in the tunnel.
Yeah.
Trying to get them to go the wrong way. He returns when they're in the thief's neighborhood. He's holding the baby. That's him.
Okay.
So even him, they justify.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
It's so good. The sex workers in the brothel.
Yeah.
Those women, manhandle him.
Mm-hmm.
They are so strong. They literally shove them out of there. It's so good.
Yeah.
And then, but you know, the movie, I like that it opens. Yeah, you have all of these like humans not really being nice to each other. But it does open with a act of goodwill. Like the pawn shop person gives them an extra 500.
That's true.
Of course, the guy in the end lets him go. He sees him crying and lets him go.
Yeah, I think it would be a little too black and white
would be.
if everyone was terrible to him.
For sure.
Because that's not how life works.
And you know what? If he actually had to go to jail, I don't think I could watch this movie again. I'm so happy it doesn't end with them being separated.
Yeah.
Because when he takes his hand, I mean, sure, he probably is traumatized for life, both of them. And, you know, it's not without, like, really embarrassing Antonio that the man lets him go eventually. But if they were separated, if he actually had to go to jail, I don't think I could watch this movie again.
Interesting.
That would be too
much.
Too sad.
Yeah.
It would.
You'd just be crapped on the whole movie.
I would. It would be like a Schindler's List situation almost, where it's like the movie is so heavy that I can't really watch it that often.
Yeah. I
Don't
see what
you
you're
feel
saying.
that way?
You know, it's funny. This watch, in my memory, I was like, oh, he gets arrested at the end.
I did too.
And I was like, oh, they let him go. I'd forgotten that they let him go.
I almost did too. I had an inkling. I was like, wait, they let him go. And then I didn't. I thought I was imagining it. But then, thank God.
Yeah.
No, thank God. Because really, really, I don't know, just knowing they're going to stay together, like Bruno taking his hand.
Well, they still would have stayed together if he went to prison. If he
No,
went to prison,
they would have been separated.
I mean, the mom would have taken care of him, and
Can you imagine Bruno being, bye, Dad, bye. I'm gonna go home. You're going to jail now.
Chances are, for a bicycle, he would not have been in jail for very long. But yes, I get
it would
what
have
you're
ruined
saying.
them. It's still tragic.
I think
don't
the
get
end
me
still
wrong.
kind of does ruin them.
No, I think there's a little bit of. I mean, at least they have love. At least they have each other.
They still would have had each other if he did a brief stint in prison.
No, he would have been in prison.
Until
it
he
would
came
have been
back.
Jean Valjean. 19 years.
I don't know.
I don't know either, but I think it makes it a little better that he doesn't, because I think it'd be too unbearable for me. I really do. I can't stand to see Bruno hurt. Let's talk about that. I think Bruno is the most interesting character in this movie.
Oh God, he's like a little adult.
He's a little adult.
Yeah. The way he moves, the way he talks,
combing his hair.
Yeah.
He has a job. I would have said something when he's cleaning the bike. They really he really gives him this tough guy personality, this tough little boy. And in his mind, like, he hates to be helpless. And like his dad, right? Like Antonio, the second we meet him, he's complaining to Maria, like, I'm doomed. What am I going to do? I don't have a bicycle. It's her who's like, no, you can get it back. So Bruno is like his foil almost, where he's like, I would have said something to them if I had seen this bicycle like this, if there was a dent in it. And why'd you let the old man get away?
Yeah.
Bruno's the opposite of him.
He's a problem solver.
Right.
Yeah,
but of course he hasn't seen as much as his dad has seen, but still he doesn't want to, I feel like he doesn't want to be like his dad.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is, that's why it's so sad when he slaps him. Because Bruno was put down the whole freaking movie.
Here's the thing, kids back then got slapped.
No, I know. But I'm just saying, he is put down by every adult in this movie. And then when his dad finally does it, it's so sad.
I know.
It's so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And I love, like, so many, like, social commentary movies have a kid in it. And it's usually in the kid's perspective, in which the kid has this wild imagination and they escape their circumstances through their imagination and just being a kid, right? I love movies like that. This movie's not like that. Bruno is an adult, like
he's
you
grounded,
said.
yeah.
He's grounded.
He's aware.
He sees everything. He hears everything.
Everything.
And it's just so interesting because those are two such different choices for these movies that are about issues like this. And it just works so well in this.
I agree.
So Bruno is put down a lot in the movie. And I think the most shocking is that pedophile.
Yeah. I'd forgotten about that scene too.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That's a very eerie scene.
It totally is. But yeah, he's told to scram in the marketplace. He falls in the water.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I know. He gets hit on the head by that priest.
Because he opens up the confessional booth curtain.
I know. And then his dad, and then he almost gets hit by a car.
No, the whole movie, the dad is not really, Antonio's not paying him very much attention. And you think it's like, oh, Bruno's just so street smart and stuff, like he's fine. But then clearly, and he is, because his dad is always walking ahead of him, right?
Yeah.
Bruno's behind. But yeah, those moments with the pedophile and with, you know, like he is skirting trouble. Like he almost gets hit by the car and stuff. And so it's like, you know, this poor kid who has been forced out of circumstance to kind of grow up quickly. But, you know, he's still a kid.
I mean, he's a kid only in body.
It's true.
You're right.
Yeah. But he's like, how old do you, like,
He was 8. He was
okay,
8.
Yeah.
I know, with his little job, and he gets there in his overalls, and he like picks up the can and gets to work.
Even his
So
gestures,
cute. I
like
know his
yeah.
hand.
There's a lot of
said something.
there's a lot of this in the
There's a
movie.
lot of
we're
hand
gesturing
movement.
the hand, the Italian hand movement.
There's a lot by everyone, not just Bruno.
What do you call that anyway? The Italian,
You
like
tell me, you're the Italian one.
it's like putting the tips of your fingers together on one hand and shaking it back and forth.
Yeah.
Hey,
I don't know. It's just fun.
it is fun. There's a lot of it in this movie.
A lot by everyone.
Everyone.
Practically everyone. You know what we didn't talk about? The movies. So I love
Rita Hayworth.
I love that it's Gilda. Like, what a way to separate this movie from the other movies being made.
Yes.
His job is literally to put up these glamorous movie posters.
This is real life.
Like,
this
that's
is not the movies.
brilliant. Brilliant. There's that. First of all, I love how bad he is at it. I love the really lumpy one that he does. And then when they're in that open air market, there's a stand with, it looks like magazines. It's a bunch of celebrity pictures. It's a great shot. It almost lingers on the magazines as they walk away.
Right.
It's
So good. Yeah, it's really
Jinx.
That happens so many times in the show, okay?
No, it's really incredible. And I love the dichotomy between, I mean, now I'm jumping back and forth, Bruno and Antonio. It's just brilliant.
It's so good.
Should we talk about some shots?
What shots?
Like, I like
This is an audiobook.
the tracking shots in that market. There's quite a few. There's some of like the bells and whistles, and there's some of the bicycles.
Yeah. The literal bells and whistles.
The crowd, you know what's such an amazing shot is after the whole altercation with the thief, he turns the corner and he
Which
says
one?
like
Which altercation?
the final one.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He turns the corner and Antonio says, "Bruno, come on." And then you can see Bruno come, and then you hear the crowd, and you see them all coming, waving their hands this in the all one shot, and it's so good.
Do you think the thief is faking
the epilepsy?
Yeah.
I've never thought about him faking it. I've always thought he has it.
Yeah.
Because his mom seems prepared. That's
Yes.
the only reason. Like,
Yeah.
she comes down with a pillow. She's like, be careful his head.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I think you're right.
I've never thought it was fake.
Because it happens at such a convenient time for him.
For sure.
Because Antonio's got him, and it's like...
And if you think about those neighbors, how would they know?
They're all just looking out for each other, you know? It's
Exactly.
like...
And it's a different part of town. It's their neighborhood.
Well, that's the whole thing of this movie. It's hard to villainize
You can't
anybody
villainize
except for the
anyone.
pedophile.
The pedophile. Yes, you're right.
That's like the
That's
one
it.
true villain of the
you're
movie.
so right.
Yeah.
And if you notice, he's dressed really smartly.
Yeah.
He has like a hat and a carnation and a suit. And
Oh, that carnation, right? It actually squirts water. Wait,
is there even a carnation? Am I making that up?
you might be making it up, but also I believe you. I took your word for it. I'm gonna lead the carnation squirting water into
Your Pee-wee reference.
Pee-wee. Pee-wee's Big Adventure is Bicycle Thieves.
Yeah.
It was a remake of Bicycle Thieves. Paul Rubens even says that. He was
That's
like,
so funny.
originally he was going to do Pollyanna because that was like his favorite movie, but instead he picked Bicycle Thieves. And what I love so much about Pee-wee's Big Adventure, besides it being just one of the all-time great comedies ever, like that movie is so funny. So funny. And actually we had talked about doing it before on the show, and I have a mutual friend with Paul, or I did have a mutual, we had reached out to him to anyway, we almost had, we wanted to have him on to talk about Pee-wee's Big Adventure, but where am I even going with this?
I don't know. Bicycle Thieves.
Oh, okay. So Paul Rubens talks about, I bought the Sid Field, the guy that wrote the screenwriting book in the 70s.
Good book, yeah.
He's like, here's what you do. I lose my bike on page 30. I get it back on page 60. And he just like structured Pee-wee's Big Adventure exactly how the book tells you to structure a script. And it's Bicycle Thieves too, because it basically happens, except, they never get the bike back. But like about 25 minutes in, they lose the bike. And, it's like, it's a very clean.
Did you do that on purpose?
Yeah.
Wow. Like you watched PB knowing that it's.
No.
Oh, well, that was my question.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, I didn't. I watched it because I'd been meaning to revisit since Paul passed away, but also it was my birthday weekend, and my wife was like, "You could watch anything. Like, you have a green card, or not a green card. You could watch whatever. Like, you have the totally open thing." And so I picked Pee Wee because she doesn't like that movie, and every time I try to suggest it, she's like, "No." So I was like, "I'm doing Pee Wee's Big Adventure," but no, I didn't time it for this episode.
Wow.
Like that just happened. That was chance. Ping pong. Well. No, yeah, sure, ping pong, yeah. That's true.
Why are you doubting
it was ping pong. You're right. It's the magic ping pong ball. But no, it's funny. Like that movie, down to the mystic he goes and sees to tell him where the bike is. Like that movie is Bicycle Thieves.
That's so funny. I never thought of it that way.
For years, even after I saw Bicycle Thieves, I never made the connection until someone said it. And I was like, oh my God. So that's it.
Ping pong.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that for you. I love that for our show. What's your favorite site?
My favorite site is the second to last shot. It's the penultimate shot of them holding hands and crying and walking. Bruno looking up at him and crying, and them holding. Because come on, it's so powerful.
Bruno's eyes. Oh. I forgot to point out, I love the moment where Antonio decides to take him to lunch. Like, he's tired. He says, "Come on, sit down." And Bruno's just like rubbing his head. And he's like, "Are you hungry?" And he nods. It's so beautiful. And Antonio even says, like, "I'm probably screwed anyway. Like, I'm going to give my kid lunch." And then, of course, like, they can only get sandwiches.
I love that whole... Well, first of all, those are like the thing to get there. Because the rich kid is having the mozzarella sandwich.
He is?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
No, aren't they having... They're having, like, pastas and stuff.
No, well, I think the mozzarella sandwich, it's not what you think it is. It's not just like mozzarella on bread. It's like a fried thing. And you have to eat it with a fork and knife.
But the other table is, like, full of, like...
Oh, sure. Exactly.
And,
yeah,
like,
yeah. They have a bunch of different things.
And, yeah.
But what's funny is I so relate to that whole interlude in this movie in terms of, like, a good meal will solve so many problems. Yeah. And while it doesn't solve anything in this movie, it's
needed.
It's a temporary relief.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's been worrying. And then they just get a second to, like, I think too quickly though. Like, you know what? Forget it. Let's go have a meal and it'll make everything better. And we're both gonna get drunk and like.
Yeah. And I love how Bruno doesn't get drunk. Like, he doesn't. He's too wise. He's too
honestly,
mature.
He's too wise.
Yeah.
But that whole segment, that's one of maybe my favorite sequence in the movie because it's
the music. You can see how happy Bruno is.
And then Antonio adding it up in his head like, oh, well, they'd have to be making like $1 million a month to eat like that, Like,
yeah, and having him write down how much he was gonna make on the job.
Yeah. But it's like this, for Bruno, it's this like forbidden pleasure. It's this forbidden fruit of like, getting out to go to a restaurant with his dad and drink wine and order and be waited on. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Plus, I love the whole restaurant experience. I have some friends
or in real life?
In real life.
Love going to restaurants.
I love going to restaurants. I mean, who doesn't?
Yeah.
But like, I have some friends that are like, I don't like being waited on makes me feel uncomfortable. I'm like, no. That's what you tip them for, Like,
that's why you like going to restaurants, because you want to be waited on?
That's part of it, yeah. Like, to have someone come by and be super nice to you and take your order and, like, get everything you want, like, it's part of it.
I love the anticipation of restaurants. Like, I love...
Like, after you order?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're just waiting for that food.
It's so good. I'm hungry. How did we get into this?
Oh, we did my favorite sites. Now we should do yours.
How did we jump to the restaurant? Oh, I said I love the moment where he asks him if he wants to get something to eat.
Yes.
My favorite site. So my favorite site happens after this. I mean, it's such a sad sight now that I think about it. It happens after the slap. And it is the moment, it's that shot where they're walking really far from each other.
Oh, yeah.
And Bruno says, "I'm telling Mom." Again, Bruno, problem solver. He's like, "I'm not going to let this stand. I'm a what's the word I'm looking for?
There was an injustice done here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to do something about this. I'm telling mom.
Yeah.
And then they're walking really far away from each other. It's the only, well, there's shots where Bruno is behind him, but there aren't really shots where they're far away next to each other. If they're ever next to each other, they're usually standing side by side.
That's true.
So it's just such a jarring shot and so sad and full of meaning and just freaking beautiful.
It is. It's so good.
I think we have the same favorite sound.
How do you know?
Because you said I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's almost my favorite sight and sound.
For sure, me too.
But yeah,
Should we tell the people what it is?
It's the scene when it's after the slap. Wait, or before the slap. It's before the slap.
It's when they go to the second market.
That's right. Where the pedophile is.
No, pedophile's at the first one.
Oh, okay. Jeez. The events of this movie are just like a jumble in my head right now. Yeah, it's when Antonio charges ahead. Bruno's behind him. He falls in the street, like in a puddle. Very quickly gets up in a way that almost seems like it was a mistake.
Yeah.
Like the actor just fell.
Maybe it was, honestly.
He gets up and he's brushing himself off, and Antonio's like, "What happened?" And he says, "I fell down."
Yeah. Like a man. He says it completely like a man.
He says it like a character. Yeah, like a character from a movie,
like
an adult.
What happened to me? I fell.
Here, we'll play it.
Ma che fa?
It's in Italian, but you get the idea.
I mean, easily the best line in the whole movie, the best sound.
Yeah, his gesture too, the way he
yeah,
because he's upset that his dad has not noticed that he fell, and poor Bruno is trying to hold it together, and he's like, "I'm gonna brush myself off."
Yeah,
and it's not until Antonio asks, like, "What happened?" And he's like, "You son of a bitch, you weren't watching.
Exactly.
Like I fell in a puddle."
Can I just? There are certain characters from certain things that I wish I could have a pocket-sized version and keep in my pocket at all times. And Bruno's at the top of the list.
Yeah, because then you could just like feed him little bits of crackers, little crumbs, and he'd be okay. He'd be cheap.
If I ever have a son one day, all I ask is that he is like Bruno. That's all I want in a son.
It's a tall order.
I know.
So you want him to have to grow up too early and have a job at age 8?
I mean, in mannerisms and way he talks and ways he understands things and his gestures.
Sica is a wise man casting him off the street.
God,
like very, very wise. To see that kid and be like, "Oh shit.
This is the kid."
Yeah.
He went on to be in Barefoot Contessa, which I have never seen.
I haven't either, actually.
He went on to do like a few movies as a kid.
Oh, okay. But he's no Jean-Pierre Léaud.
No. He could have been the Italian Jean-Pierre Léaud. Yeah.
I would like to think that this kid went on to, be an artist or something.
He was a math teacher.
No, like the character of Bruno.
Bruno. A filmmaker, perhaps.
Yeah, I see that.
For sure.
Imagine that. Like, he's big in the 70s. He's like, yeah, I grew up in the 40s in Italy, and
I worked at a gas station.
I had a job at age 8, and one day, over 2 days, I helped my dad look for his bicycle.
Yeah.
It was a terrible Italian accent. Oh, sorry.
If he moved to Jersey, it wasn't that bad.
He's
but
like,
I don't know if he did.
Dad, where's the gabagool? Where's the mozzarella?
Yeah.
See, I can say that because I am actually Italian.
There you go. But do you think Bruno moved to Jersey?
Yeah.
Possibly.
And ended up on The Sopranos. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. With eating a lot of prosciutto and mozzarella and, baked ziti.
Yum.
I'm going to cut that.
So good.
Oh boy. See, I can indulge in the stereotypes. I'm like in the club.
There you go. Is that a good feeling?
I feel like people would be more comfortable with me indulging in German stereotypes because my last name is super German.
I see.
So I could probably get away with those even more. So if you want to hear like me talking about schnitzel and spätzle and bratwurst. Okay, this has run its course.
Is your last name is 2 names.
Yeah.
And they're both German.
Yeah.
Well,
together it's a German last name, but yeah, it's Klein and Schmidt. Klein is small, Schmidt is like a blacksmith. So it's like
I see.
So it was some profession in my family generations back was like a blacksmith, and that's how they ended up with the name.
Cool. Mine were post office workers.
Oh my
I'm
God.
not kidding. Mailman, postaji. Yeah.
Oh my God. I never knew that. That's so cool.
Mailmen and blacksmiths.
So together we could make something and then ship it.
There you go.
And it would get to its destination. Could make like a nice like anvil or something. No, an anvil is where they would make the things. So you'd make like a nice little seesaw horse thing. Rocking horse.
Something for little Bruno.
Yeah, exactly. But Bruno's not into that kind of thing. Bruno's
Do you
into
think
like
Bruno plays?
like if you gave Bruno a gun, he would know what to do with it. You know what I mean? Like if Antonio was
For
like,
sure.
Bruno, I need you to hide this gun.
Yeah.
Like in Godfather 2, he would know what to do.
Oh yeah, but I also think that little baby Bruno, like for example, in the restaurant, when they're playing music and he's really into it, I don't know. I think Bruno wants to be a kid. I think he just hasn't had a chance. Like, do you think if you give him a ball and say, "Kid, you have nothing to do today. Here's a ball," he'll play.
I don't know that he knows how to play. He already works.
I know, and he closes the window for the baby. He's so sweet.
Yeah.
Perfect angel boy. I love him.
I think Bruno's smarter than Antonio.
I'm confident he's smarter than Antonio.
Yeah.
I would trust Bruno with my life.
Yeah. Yes, me too. Me too.
Okay, I think it's time to do Pauline.
Oh, yeah. Pauline Kael. Here's what Pauline had to say about Bicycle Thieves.
Does she like it?
I just have a little snippet here. This story of a poor man's search for his stolen bicycle is deceptively simple. At first, there is ironic tenderness, humanity observed with compassion, but without illusion. Then the search becomes an odyssey of poverty, encompassing much more than the realistic method leads you to expect. And the richness and the enigmas sneak up on you. What is the meaning of the seeress's words? How is it that the hero who is searching for the bicycle thief becomes the bicycle thief? This neorealist classic, directed by Vittorio de Sica and written by Cesar Zavattini, is on just about everybody's list of the greatest films. It isn't a movie that warms you, though. It doesn't have the flawed poetry that De Sica's Shoeshine and Miracle in Milan have. It's a more impersonal, great film. Actually, you know what? This is bad. I haven't seen Shoeshine or Miracle in Milan. They're both on my radar, but I have not seen them. I don't know. It's a more impersonal, great film.
I don't know about impersonal.
I don't know either. That feels a little...
I'm pretty committed to this family.
Because look...
Like, I'm very committed to this family.
Let's think about a film we've done for the show that was an impersonal, great film. Can you think of one? Does one pop to your head? Maybe a certain rules of the game?
Yeah.
Right?
For sure. Why this turned into the rules of the game bashing episode?
Well, and for, context, we both like the movie. If you go back and listen to our rules of the game episode.
It's a perfectly fine movie.
Yeah, we're just not like, it's not like our favorite movie ever. That was an early one for us. That was in the first couple months we started. But I think it's, I don't know, it feels pretty personal.
It feels so personal.
Yeah.
You know them.
Yeah.
You know it, like, you pretty much know these characters.
You do. They go together like Rama Lama Lama, a dingity ding-a-dong.
That's so good. Is that the actual thing they're saying?
So, I know they say Rama Lama Lama, and then... Well, each verse is a different, because then they go shoebop, shoebop, dippity
I thought it was like
doop.
shabalaba.
Yeah, each one they say something different.
We're talking about Grease, by the way. I don't know, Pauline. It's a pretty personal movie. Like, I personally want to see these people succeed, and I think they have a great family dynamic, and yeah. I
think she almost thinks that it's too clean to be personal, but I disagree with that and completely. Like, I think personal movies can be very clean. Like, yeah. Letterboxd.
5 stars. I stole a bicycle once. I tried explaining to the cops that I was merely playing homage to post-war Italian neorealism.
I have that one. I was about to read it.
Damn it! Beat you to it.
4.5 stars. Bruno will grow up to be a great man.
Oh, he will.
This is a very great experience for him, honestly. At the end of the day, it's good that he learned this at 8. Life is not fair. Life is going to crap on you, and you have to make the best of it.
Poor baby, though. I really do like to see kids have a childhood.
And you have to keep your humility,
Oh, he's humble.
Yeah. Yeah, he has been robbed
He's
of his
a working
childhood.
man.
So he's going to have Peter Pan syndrome later on in life. He's going to start collecting toys and action figures and
I mean, whatever
Xbox
his little
controllers.
heart desires, I'm cool with. 3 stars. As beautiful as it looks, the melancholy and the sense that this man is just a bad father are wearying after a while. Do you think that's so like, I don't think he's a bad father. I think he's a man who is in distress.
Yeah. No, he's not a bad father, even if he's being a little negligent. Like,
I don't think he's.
it's ultimately, this whole thing is to care for his family, to take care of it. You know,
he has 2 kids.
Yeah.
So I don't agree with that.
2 stars. The social drama has some nice cinematic moments, and it all starts promising. But after a while, it starts to crumble a bit. The search doesn't get any more interesting. It also gets a bit cheesy in terms of drama.
Oh, come on.
The moral dilemmas seem a bit plaintive, and the Italian drama comes to the fore anyway. What? I also didn't find the main character particularly sympathetic. Just because he loses himself in the situation so much, harasses people, be pushy, falsely accused.
Yeah. He doesn't falsely accuse.
So not really strong in terms of ending and drama, but at times interesting as a whole. What the fuck?
He didn't falsely accuse. That is the thief.
Yes.
And he is, I forgot to mention it, he is very pushy in church, but I think that that's a good character move, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, he's
really pushy to the old man.
This bike means everything to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel a little bad for that old man. Not knowing his story, like, it's also kind of funny.
But just take him there. Why are you being so annoying?
It's funny when he comes and sits next to him in church, and the old man just kind of allows it. He's like, oh, fuck, okay.
He stalks him a little bit.
You know what? I think that old guy maybe liked the attention a little bit.
Maybe he did. I so relate to this. 5 stars. Meanwhile, my cobwebbed bike stays in my garage, and I don't think I've been more thankful for my living circumstances.
I pulled that one too. Damn.
Wow, we're so simpatico with our letterboxed.
Jesus.
That's pretty much it. I want to end it on that note, I think.
Yeah. That was Bicycle Thieves.
What a picture.
What a picture. Sorry if my voice sounded more nasally than normal. I've been suffering from allergies, from seasonal allergies. What is next week? Next week is a s'mores episode. So we're doing, it looks like the poll is about to close. It looks like it's going to be Brian De Palma's Phantom of the Paradise, because we paired that with the Ken Russell film, The Boyfriend, with Twiggy. So we did 2 kind of weirdo musicals, and it looks as though Phantom of the Paradise is about to win. So I'm going to say that's probably what we're doing next week, but also we'll confirm via a social media post. So if you're not subscribed to our S'more series, check it out. Check us out on Patreon, because that series is just for patrons. Although last month's S'mores episode, which was on Mask of the Red Death with Vincent Price, was a free one. So we made that one available to everyone. So you can go listen to it if you want to get a taste of what the S'mores series is about. But it's basically our normal show with some theming, some camp theming. So we have a good time with it. So that's what we're doing next week. Come back and join us then. Also, special thanks to our patrons, especially those at the highest level at the Pauline Kael tier, John Pennington and Cynthia Fordwell. Thank you so much for all of your support. Until then, I'm Greg.
I'm Jackie.
And we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Seen and Heard is an official podcast of the Arroyo Film Club, featuring Greg Kleinschmidt and Jacqueline Postagian. Theme music by Andrew Cox. If you like what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. If you have any questions, comments, or you just want to say hi, email us hello@seenandheardpod.com or visit our website, www.seenandheardpod.com.